The 2023 NBA Draft is now in the books. 58 new players were selected to teams in a night filled with intrigue and surprise, headlined by the Spurs selecting a generational prospect in Victor Wembanyama first overall. Some teams had better nights than others though, and today we're going to be discussing just that, going over some of the initial winners and losers of the eventful 2023 NBA Draft. The first winner is obvious, and that is the San Antonio Spurs. A player like Wembanyama can change a franchise's trajectory, and you add him to some nice pieces they already have in San Antonio with the likes of Devin Vassell, Malachi Branham, Jeremy Sohan, and Keldon Johnson under one of the greatest coaches of all time, and the future clearly looks very bright once again in San Antonio. I also like the second round selection of Sidy Cissoko, a fellow Frenchman who is a 19-year-old wing with size who can defend, do a little playmaking, and score inside as well, even though his shot does need work. The first loser has got to be the Charlotte Hornets. And this is tough for me because I really like Nick Smith at 27 as well as Colby Jones at 34, the former Xavier guard, but picking Brandon Miller over a prospect of Scoot Henderson's caliber at number 2 has to put them here. And as many people have said, by no means is Miller bad, but Scoot is just significantly better with his combination of physicality, athleticism, defending, playmaking, and driving ability. I also really think him and LaMelo could have worked as a backcourt, and for that reason, I have to give the Charlotte Hornets an L for the draft, even though some of the other pieces they picked up were nice. The most important one I do think they missed on. The next winner is the Houston Rockets, who first picked 4th overall and had another pick in the first round, picking Cam Whitmore 20th. With their 4th pick, they picked Amen Thompson, one of the 2 Thompson twins, and as a pick I really do like this. Thompson's so athletic, has a lot of size, can really pass, can get to the cup. Obviously the shot needs a lot of work, but I think having him as a primary ball handler next to Houston's core of Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason, and Alperen Sengun could really turn to something nice a few years down the line, especially if, as said previously, Amen can become at least an alright 3-point shooter where teams don't leave him completely open, which I don't think is impossible at all. And the other pick, Cam Whitmore at 20, is crazy. Many people thought he would go number 5, the pick right after Amen went to the Rockets, but he fell all the way to 20 due to health concerns, and the Rockets picked him up there. Obviously, there's a reason he fell, but getting a prospect of that caliber who isn't even 19 years old yet at 20 is just amazing value. He has the chance to be a really good player on the offensive end especially. The next loser of this draft isn't even the team this guy plays on, and more just one player, and that has got to be Damian Lillard. It seemed that going into this night we would get a lot more clarity on the Portland Trailblazers' direction moving forward, and we left with the exact opposite. They kept the 3rd pick, which many people around the league believe they were trying to move, and took Scoot Henderson, which was the right pick if you were going to keep it at that slot. But now we are left with the question of what this means for Portland moving forward. Their GM Joe Cronin has continued to insist that they are trying to compete and win with Damian Lillard, and said they are trying to add veterans in free agency, which once again leaves the Blazers in a place with a major lack of a clear direction moving forward. It'd be very interesting to see if Lillard finally reaches his breaking point this offseason, and finally, when Portland does make that decision, which way do they go? Do they keep Scoot and Sharp and try to be good? Do they trade Scoot? Do they trade Anthony Simons? Or do they keep all of those guys and trade Damian Lillard? It's really going to be fascinating this offseason. Winner number 3 is another Texas squad in the Dallas Mavericks. They started the night at 10, traded back, and got the best non-Victor Wembanyama rim protector in the draft in Derek Lively II, someone who has a crazy ceiling on that side of the ball with his 7'7" wingspan, and even though he was very underwhelming on the offensive end at Duke, his defensive ceiling is absolutely insane. They also acquired number 24 in Rashawn Holmes later in the night from Sacramento and took Olivier Maxence Prosper, a 6'7" forward from Marquette, another very good defensive prospect who also possesses some great athleticism, can score inside, and rebounds the ball well. They also signed Mike Miles Jr. from TCU, a guard, as an undrafted free agent, and he's someone who I do think could make the roster as he was a very good college player and is a capable shot maker. The last loser of this night were the Orlando Magic, and now I don't think they had a necessarily bad draft, but I certainly think they could have done more with picks 6 and 11, in which they took Anthony Black and Jett Howard. Howard will add some much needed shooting and shot making to the squad, and Black is a big guard who is a great defender with some major room for improvement in the scoring aspect of his game, but I question how soon, if ever, if he can be a lead guard on a really good team. If I was the Magic and I'm adding another guard to this room of guard that already has Jalen Suggs, Markelle Fultz, and Cole Anthony, I want to add someone who has a mix of both self-creation and playmaking that Black really doesn't have at the moment, but he does fit that Orlando Magic mold of big, lanky, athletic guys who can play defense and have potentially very high ceilings. I do think Black is a good player though, and another thing about the Magic is that they failed to trade up in this draft, which I do think they could have done. They have young guys, they have 6 and 11, and even though they left with 2 good prospects in my opinion, I do think they could have done more and maximized their value in other ways. The last winner of this draft was the Utah Jazz, and they had 3 first-round picks, and I firmly believe these guys went 3 for 3 on those picks. First off, Taylor Hendricks at 9, second off, Keontae George at 16, and the third pick was Bryce Sensabaugh from Ohio State at 28. Now starting with Hendricks, you know he's a very capable 3-and-D wing, shot 39% from 3 at UCF this past season. Lanky guy, can defend, and he looks at least like he will be a very solid player. Keontae George, someone with a very high ceiling as a scorer. His mix of athleticism and shot making could make him a really good player. And speaking of shot making, I don't know if there's a better one in this draft than Bryce Sensabaugh. He doesn't do much else but score, but man is he a good scorer. He's a great shooter, great 3-point shooter, and he is a bucket getter. And he adds to this Utah Jazz core. Those 3 guys add to this Utah Jazz core that has Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, potentially someone like Colin Sexton or Ochai Agbaji as well. And it's clear they're really building something with Danny Ainge at the helm. And those are my initial winners and losers from the 2023 NBA draft. Comment your thoughts below. I thank y'all for watching, and peace out.